In this episode of the Beamable Game Dev Podcast, I sit down with Umut, the developer of A Night at the Races that just launched on Nintendo Switch. I think you're really going to enjoy this interview, so let's jump into it. Umut, how are you?
Thanks, fine. How are you?
I'm good. We are here to talk about A Night at the Races. You just launched this game on the Switch. Are you on cloud nine right now? Are you so excited?
To be honest, I'm a bit shocked that we actually managed to do that. I'm still in shock. You know, I have a game and it's on Switch. It's weird. I still feel like a child sometimes. So if I was able to go back 30 years ago or so, and if I were to tell myself that you're going to have a game on Switch, it's a new console, you know, it's Nintendo, and my child version would be, he would probably wouldn't believe me. But I'm still, I can't believe it. Actually, still, it's still a shock.
What was it like for you on September 3rd? When you went to the eShop and saw your game in that list with games like Mario Odyssey and Mario Kart and all these other games, and here is A Night at the Races.
On September 3rd, it was a bit different. It wasn't like this because I was still very nervous, and my publisher was still sending me documents and talking about pre-orders and stuff that we should do. I was shaking actually because on release day, even if you have a publisher, it's not an easy process. You're just handling a lot of things at the same time. And I wasn't able to grasp the thing that just happened when I saw the shop screen, because it's not only you, by the way. It's your team members, it's your family. They're sending, the screenshots. Oh, look at that! You're on Switch now. You released the game. Woo! Everyone is so excited. But I maybe because, as I said before, I'm an introverted guy. I wasn't able to get the hang of it. Being excited, matching the excitement of other people, and I was still in shock, and it was a bit difficult for me because I was still thinking about the stuff that I should do besides what my publisher usually does. So it was a different day. I was not like this actually.
It sounds like it was a little bit nerve wracking, and a little bit a lot of paperwork. Sounds like a lot of emails going back and forth.
Yes. It was even a very calm release for me actually, because I had a publisher. I have a publisher for this game, and I released this game previously on PC in 2019. And it was all by myself. It was even more hectic. And before that, I released a lot of small games. And believe me or not, it's all releases are very, very chaotic, should I say?
Yeah.
Is somehow even if you say that, I planned everything will go according to the plan. It's just a different beast. You get used to it a bit better with time, but it's never easy, I think, especially for a guy like me. I don't know.
This is great. This is great information, though, because I from my perspective, I would assume that it's like the date comes and it's like pop the champagne and everything, it's a big party, but there's still work to be done.
Yes. I believe there are people like this. I mean, I haven't seen it, but there are people who can, take things in a more calmer way, and perhaps that's a better way to deal with things. I mean, I wasn't shaking and shouting everyone. I was still able to do my job on the release day, but somehow there is general partying in the release day, and perhaps at the nights when everything gets calmed down. But it was hectic for me. What can I say?
Yeah.
Maybe it's different for different people.
Sure. Yeah. Let's take a little step back here. Let's talk about like how'd you get into the games industry, and what inspired you?
It's a long story. You want the long version or short version?
Of course. We want to hear stories. Yeah.
So actually, I started with Flash games back in 2009 or 2008 or so. I was actually making websites with my partner back then at 2009. And we were developing websites with content management systems for companies. And we were doing pretty good. We were doing our own business in our own time, having a nice local clients. Then my partner wanted to change the cities and wanted to do another thing because of personal reasons. But at that time, I didn't want to go back and search for jobs because I was used to running my own business. It's kind of an addictive thing, when you get used to it, having that kind of... it's not easy. It's still it's a lot of haggling, a lot of struggle. You need to put a lot of more hours, perhaps, than your usual standard job. But I was used to it, and I don't want to leave it. And there was already a commercial entity that we set up, a company, sort of. And I didn't want to close it down. So I thought of what can I do by myself? My partner is leaving, and he was the workhorse of the company. He was doing hard coding stuff, and I was the designer kind of guy. Believe me or not, I was going and talking with clients by myself with this introverted personality.
I believe it.
It was still weird, but I was doing okay. It was okay. But then I was all by myself, and I thought, what can I do? How can I float this boat all by myself? And I was looking to websites and stuff like that. And I saw a site named FGL.com. It's a flashgamelicense.com. I was playing games, and I played a lot of games in my childhood. But at university, in university, I stopped playing games because I was trying to figure out what my future would be like, and I was trying to figure out my career path, so to speak. So there was a big empty timeline between my childhood and back then in 2009. But when I saw these sites, I saw these little free games making money by getting sponsorships, actually, and I was surprised because there were these free games and they were actually making money. Oh, how is this possible? So I made my research and showed that you can actually get ads and sponsors in these little games. So, okay, I can develop something by myself. I was doing web design in some capacity, so I learned a bit coding in Flash. And I started developing Flash games and put my first Flash game onto the site, and it was received very well. And I continued doing that for years, actually 5 or 6 years. And then, as you know, Flash died, but I wanted to continue, and I jumped to the mobile bandwagon, done some stuff there. But I always wanted to go back and do PC games. Actually, it was a childhood dream, but I never believed back in the day that I could do stuff like that, because we were living in Turkey. I'm still living in Turkey, actually. And there wasn't this kind of opportunity lurking around. You know, there was no YouTube, there was no books enough, no educators. For a short time in my high school, I had a good programming teacher, and he showed me some basic, but that was all to it. You know, I didn't know a way to break into games industry, as you know, because there was no games industry in this country. And you know, in university I studied industrial design. So at that point I was really not seeing a way to go back to the computers and making this work. So I give it up altogether. But when this opportunity came and I saw Flash games making some progress, I jumped in, and since then I'm making games. Actually, it's been 12 years or so, and journey continues. My first PC game in 2019, it was released, anightattheraces, as you know. And now, 2 years later, we are on Switch. This is the story.
It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Like you kept your nose to the grindstone and just adapted and got it done. I mean, that's amazing. And look now. I mean, I was playing your game on the Switch before we started the interview. You know, it's incredible. I love that. What are you playing any games right now? Do you have any games that you're playing?
Yeah, I went back to playing games after finishing all this release stuff, and now I'm binging games in Steam a bit. I don't own a Nintendo Switch, actually, so it was really hard for me to test my own game. It's really expensive here, and we just borrowed the Nintendo dev kit from our friends, and thankfully a lot of friends came to help, and we managed to finish our game with their help. But now I'm back to playing games on my PC, on my Steam. So what I played, actually I played Alien Isolation just days ago, and actually it was tense, man. I don't know what to say. It's but other than that, I'm mostly playing relaxing games. Right now, I played Carto, I played Townscaper. Perhaps all of those games are much more relaxing than I normally used to play back in the day. I'm playing these little indie games, so to speak, and I'm having fun. Also. I played Super Flight. I hope I remember the name correctly. Super Flight. It's a game where you fly downtown, not downtown, but in procedurally generated levels, and so you just freely fly. But there is also a competitive, not competitive, but there's an adrenaline pushing aspect to it. Even though it's relaxing, you can try to make a high score by pushing yourself close to the walls while flying and stuff like that. So it's a good combination of relaxing and adrenaline seeking, so to speak.
That's nice. It's good. It's good to have a mix. Do you have a favorite indie title?
Oh my God, it's the hardest question to ask. How do you come up with these things? Can you answer this question? It's so hard.
Well, it can be your favorite right now, right? It doesn't have to be your favorite of all time. Like, because if you're like me, my favorites sometimes change as something new comes out, right? Like, if somebody asks me this question, what's your favorite indie title? Probably one of the first games that comes to mind is a game called Braid.
Oh my God, Braid is great, yes.
Yeah, it just that left an impact on me, and I just really enjoyed the story and the gameplay and everything. But there's been so many great indies since then. You know, we've talked about a handful of them: Celeste and Meat Boy and Golf Story is great, and I mean the list goes on and on. Killer Queen Black is a great party game. You know, like. So it doesn't have to be an all-time favorite, but just something that sits high on the list for you.
Oh man, it's changing every week. You know, it's really hard. If you would ask me this question 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I would probably say Binding of Isaac, because I really played that game to death. You know, I played it too much. So I didn't even bought the following sequels, because I knew that if I bought them, I would sunk a lot of hours. So I kept myself, and just because it was a really great experience. There is Terry Kavanaugh's VVVVV. I don't know how it's pronounced still. It's 6 V's, I guess. It's a platformer where you can change the direction of gravity. It was very odd looking in the title back in the day.
Okay.
And I don't know if you, for example, last month I played Geneforge, an indie RPG, which was made by Jeff Vogel, the godfather of indies, perhaps in RPG arena, because he's very famous in this small circle of indie developers. Probably most people in the mainstream doesn't know him, but I was able to play one of his games at last, and it was really, really, really good. You know, it's a game named Geneforge, and you're a shaper, a magician who can create things, and you can create your own army, just like Pokemon, perhaps. But you can customize them, and you can roam around the world and change a lot of stuff by your decisions. And it's an open world game. So there's that. And 1 year ago, I was really into Skyrogue. It's something like a flight simulator, but not simulator. It's an arcade flight game, just like those old Sega games. Maybe, you know, not like Afterburner, but what was the name of the game? It's Skyfox, something like Fox. Something with Fox, maybe, you know.
There was Star Fox on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, Star Fox, yes, Star Fox. It's just like Star Fox, crude 3D graphics, but very, very playful mechanics and very entertaining flights. You don't, it's not like a simulator. You don't think much about, what button should I use or something like that, but you're just giving yourself into this console experience. And I was really into that 1 year ago. So it changes every month. If you ask me every month, I can answer with a new answer, because whenever I play a new game, it becomes my favorite. I'm just bad with keeping favorites, you know.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. You're in good company with me. I do the same thing. So let's transition a little bit here and let's talk about like what are some of the most exciting like what trends in the gaming industry got you the most excited right now?
I'm normally not pretty. How should I put it? Normally, I'm not a trend-seeking guy, and I believe most of the time in the game developers are not people who are trying to, follow trends. I know there are people who are exactly doing that and trying to ride the trends, but most of the time, I believe that in the game developers become this way because they are trying to reenact their childhood, perhaps, or just want to have fun, or just like me, they like coding aspects and building something and just building wonky things and having fun. So I don't know if I have a really good insights about trends to show people, oh, look, this is a good trend, you can follow it. I believe it's never a good way, but I can say this. There's this accessibility aspects in games right now that's very appealing to me. What do I mean by that? Not only accessibility in terms of, appealing to perhaps blind people or disabled people, but in terms of more diverse experiences. 10 years ago, was it already 10 years ago? I mean, 10 years ago, if you asked me if a game like Gone Home would have made it, I would have said no. But walking simulators, for example, is a thing now. There are people playing playing them, and I think it's a good thing. I mean, you can still see these kind of new things coming up, and if you're going to, if you are trying to find the trends, I think that's one thing to look at because. As I said, it's the thing that we people are drawn to, the novelty of things, and diversity itself comes with novelty. When you are more open to different cultures and ready to hear about them, and when these people can access this stuff like me. I'm a guy from Turkey, I wasn't able to bring my game to Steam or Xbox Live back in the day, but things are different now. People can hear my story. A lot of great games from diverse people, and sometimes I realize this looking by the credits screen. Oh, this game, why is it so different? And I think it really, really makes a difference. It's this is not a political correctness thing for me because I'm from a weird country, and I can really feel that it really affects the gaming area. For example, there's a game named Loop Hero. It's an RPG kind of thing, but it's not. It's also a clicker kind of thing. I was wondering who does this kind of game. It's looking very weird and it's very popular. And when I look at, I guess it was a no-clip documentary. I saw that the guys are Russian, and they have a very distinct taste in aesthetics. All those grays and stuff that you wouldn't normally see in all pixel arts. Those muted colors and things. And it was fascinating, to see a game like that, and it's still inspiring me. And that's the trend I would look for, because if you're an indie developer, the best thing you can do, it's a bit of cliche, but it's true. best thing you can do is try to be yourself, because there lies the thing that makes you unique and different. And that will be the part that will attract people. People won't come to your game because you're following another trend, a better game that you are trying to copy. They will come, hopefully, because you are different and you're giving them some value in your game. Hopefully, this is something truthful to yourself. I mean, not something that you find by chasing some trend, but you can just take down two birds with one stone, by doing that. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I want to bring it back to A Night at the Races, because I've not played much of this game. I've spent some time with it, but I was immediately drawn in to the fact that I was playing a character that was playing the games, right? And I mean, and it just took place through some dialogue and a little bit of like clicking around on the screen, right? That you realize, like, oh, you're playing as this character, and then of course I saw the marketing material and stuff, and read about what the game was about and watched the trailers, but you did an amazing job of, in a very short amount of time with very little text, making me feel like I need to get good at this game so that I can get out of this situation, in a very, very short time. And that seems like a pretty unique game to me. Like that's not, as far as, I mean, I'm sure there's other games where you play a game within a game, right? I mean, there's so many games that I've never even heard of and or played, but to me, that was one of the factors that really drew me in. And so, where did that idea come from, and where'd the story come from?
First of all, should I thank you, or because of inducing anxiety while you play the game? Because I know it's a bit anxiety inducing, So how the story come out? It's not there's not an easy answer, because I made a lot of mistakes doing this game. It was originally supposed to be a 6-month project where I was going to do this platformer part, and okay, this will be done. I will release this just like I used to do in Flash games. It will be a short thing. But I got carried away. This was supposed to be my first PC game, and before this, I tried several prototypes for some months, which didn't yield the results. So I was a bit frustrated, and it was the only prototype that's left in my hands, which yielded better results in testing, and some of my friends were into it. So you can blame them if you're having a really hard time with platforming, because of this became a reality. I just stuck my nose in it. Decided. I was planning to finish this in 6 months, right? But at the end of 6 months, after all those plans, the thing that I made just didn't sit right with me. It was okay, it was playable, but art was not polished, and levels were, I think there was not enough difference between levels and stuff like that. And I'm going to release this to people, and people will not pay money, maybe I was wrong, actually. It was just an assumption. I don't know. But so I decided to continue, and I worked on platforming stuff, and just months passed away and away. and it started to look like a real game. But I was really burnt out actually at the 1 year and or between 1 year, or I don't know. Everything's a blur now. So I was really burnt out, and I just wanted to stop. But there was work in my hands, and if I were to go back searching for jobs, I didn't have anything to show for last 2 years in my hands. What did you do in the last 2 years? But I didn't release it. But I was really burnt out, so I couldn't finish it. So I with time and to myself, what is the thing that made me not want to continue this game? So there was a rough patch in my life back then. I was going to the studio, my little office in another place. I was walking every morning and taking the bus from one point to another. And on that road, I was always seeing all these refugees coming from Syria border into the Turkey. At that time, I was not happy with myself doing games, but at the same time, I was seeing all these weird things happening in Turkey. Turkey is not a country like, how should I say this without being unpolite? Turkey is a bit of a mixed bag. Every day there's another political stuff that makes you really, the feeling. I mean, it's not like a Scandinavian country where the most popular news is some, unimportant stuff. I don't want to.
It's heavy stuff.
Angry, but
it's heavy.
Yeah. We're near Middle East. It's the reality of the world. I mean, Turkey, we see ourselves like a part of Europe, but we're actually in both in Europe and Middle East, in Asia, and we're always this kind of feeling like, we live like there's nothing else going on in our lives. We go to Starbucks and drink our coffee, and it's like playing a role, we are closing our eyes most of the time and trying to stay alive in our little lives and try not to be affected by all this political stuff going on. And interestingly, all the world is now turning into Turkey. Actually, everyone is so anxious listening to news and all this anger going on Twitter and stuff like that. When I see this, I'm thinking like, oh, I was expecting Turkey to turn into a better country, but the world is turning into Turkey. So I was when I was going to work, I'm seeing all these people, and at the same time, I feel unhappy because I couldn't make a game and I couldn't finish a game, and it's really upsetting me. I had some money to finish this game, although it was not much. I was somehow making my dream thing, but still unhappy because I was really burnt out, and I felt really unhappy with myself when I saw all these people, refugees and other stuff going on in Turkey. There was a lot of terror bombings in Turkey back in at that time when I was doing anightattheraces. So I figured out somehow, although it's looking very unrelated, I thought if I could somehow bring that into my work and build a connection between these platforming segments, it might be the only way that I can finish this game. Not that it would be a great game, but it would be the only way for me to finish. It was just a way for me to move on, because I was paralyzed. I found myself with a game that I can't finish, which I spent 2 years, and it was not a good feeling. And I felt bad with myself, and I got angry with myself, saying, I have everything. I have this job that I want. I chose, and I was able to make money from it for years. But now I'm stuck, and I messed it up. I felt it like that. So this was for me an expression, for a way to express myself in a very how should I say it, obtuse way, perhaps, because I didn't want it to be an explicit statement, put on a platform. And so I tried my best to infuse this mixture of feelings into a scenario that would make a bit of a sense. There's this platforming segments, which looks, very lighthearted and a very goofy scenario, but in the same time, you're trying to compete just because you need money. So I tried to draw some parallels with what loose parallels, of course, not direct stuff, but I somehow tried to convey the general feeling of that oppression that I felt in my life.
Well, I mean, even before hearing that, it's just apparent. I felt like I was playing art that had ties to somebody or something, right? Like there was just something there that was pulling me in. And it's so interesting to now hear that the idea for the game and the idea for the story was coming, like the beautiful thing here is, from a place of frustration, you were able to create art. And that's amazing. And not just art, but I mean art that, like, well, I want to play more. I can't wait to work further along through this story while I'm platforming, playing as this character, but like hearing where the just the place in your heart where the game came from, like it makes it that much more it feels like there's a greater connection. And I'm going to look at it even differently now when I go and play it again, because it's like, oh, there's stuff happening in other parts of the world that are having that were impacting you on top of the frustration of this game. And then you added a whole nother game inside your game because of it. And we get to benefit from it. Like, it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. So
thanks.
Yeah. So this game is available on Switch and PC.
Yes.
Okay.
But Switch version is actually a bit better, should I say? Although PC version is my original code, and I have an affinity because of that. I have to admit that when we were releasing it to Switch, we made a lot of changes that made it more accessible, because it's not an easy game, and so we gave a lot of stuff we gave extra lives and made skipping levels easily achievable option in the menu, so that people who just want to see how the story unfolds can just skip levels as they seem fit. So I think in PC version this is also available, but they're much they're hidden in menus, etc. And Switch version also is built in Unity, which makes it more performance and better looking in frame per seconds wise. It's more fluid and it's more responsive in my eyes. So I think if you have Switch, you should buy it in Switch. It's looking great, actually.
I have one last question.
Okay.
What is and I mean, I kind of feel like we've got to hear a little bit of this, but what is the biggest lesson you've learned as a game dev?
Don't make games. I don't know. I don't know this. I mean, this whole ordeal, it was costing me everything. My health. At one point, I was really depressed. I don't know. No. Make games, of course. It's not that.
Yeah.
But before I tell my answer, what do you think I would say that? Because you said that, I think I see where we are going with this. So I'm just wondering, what's your lesson that you actually, get
my takeaway from your story as a creative is just to look around you for inspiration and look around you for ways to translate that into art. That's kind of my big takeaway.
Nice. Yes, it's definitely nice. But I was going to say something else, actually. But I hope you won't think of me less if I say this. Actually, I learned a lot about marketing. It's a weird take, I know, after all this art talk.
No, there's nothing wrong with that because it's still a business. Like, that's not like, I don't look at those two things as like mutually exclusive. It's like artists that are good marketers don't starve.
Yes, actually, I was messing with you, of course. But really, as you say, if you want to make games, especially the ones that you want to play, there are people who make games just to make money, and it's okay. I mean, there's mobile games and hyper casual stuff. I don't play them, but there are people who play them, and there are people who make this kind of games just to catch a trend in some way and just to make some quick bucks. But if you're in the game developer and you're in this business, just like, as you said, you want to make something that you would normally want to play, right? Something you want to play something as a gamer, and you call games an artistic endeavor, should I say? So you want to this. You really should understand that marketing is not only about advertising and something to be left to the publishers. It's something starts in the design at your first day when you're nailing down. It's the problem that I have so many problems with this game because I haven't think of through from the beginning. If I had done that and if I had true to my feelings at the first day, it would be a much better process for me. Maybe game would be the same game or a bit different game. I don't know. We can never know. But hopefully you're making this to make a bit more money so that you can finance your next game, right? You're not making this just to, I will release it and I will go to back to my job, etc. Perhaps, but it's just not for me. So if you're trying to say something new and still want to make some money to continue, you should understand about aspects of marketing, like how do I communicate my game to players, and how can I easily convey the feeling and the main idea to players. It's especially obvious in my game because it's by design. It's double. It's a game in a game. There are two different ideas, and it's sometimes people see and say, "Oh, is it an adventure game?" Or people see it, "Oh, it's just a platformer game," but the other parts of the screenshots are perhaps from cutscenes. And when they play it, okay, they can understand what it's all about. But most of the time, players won't have this kind of thing, because we all know there are a lot of games, and I don't even give so much time when I'm exploring so many games in my empty time. Even for research, I just check the trailer, give it 10 seconds or so. If it's interesting, okay, I can perhaps look a bit more. But it's always good if you can summarize the essential experience in a very succinct, very short, brief way, in trailers, in images, and in words. And these are all different things, I know, but and you should think about these things not in the middle of development like me, but in the beginning, actually. And it won't make you a sellout. It won't make you just someone who is trying to ride the wave of some another game's stuff. But it will make you a better communicator, which I was struggling all this time, because I'm never good with words. As you can see, I'm never comfortable speaking about my game or my ideas. This is why I'm making games, perhaps. This is why I'm drawn to making music, because I'm not good with words. But it's easier to take a guitar and play something, and coding, it's easier. But when you ask me, okay, what's your game about? It can be really, really difficult for some people like me. So if you're a guy like that, just be aware that this is actually marketing, and this is something you can learn and you can get good at. And I'm still trying to get good at it, and I'm still learning new things about design just by this. Design is not going into one room and putting all these ideas in front of you. It's communication. If the other people can't get grasp on your idea or your product or your artwork, whatever it is, you'll have a hard time selling that and communicating that. People will get bored and won't give it a chance. But perhaps you made a great game. Who knows? You will need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, should I say.
You hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, that's why you're here doing your first podcast, right?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, so there you go. Well, Umut, thank you so much for taking the time and just letting us peel back the curtain on A Night at the Races and getting some insight for game development for those of us that are learning. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks, Josh. I should thank you for having me. Thanks for this opportunity. So thank you very much.
You are welcome. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Beamable Game Dev Podcast. If you'd like to chat with more game devs, head on over to beamable.com/discord. And if you'd like more information on Beamable, head on over to beamable.com.